गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Jnaneshwari, that is Bhagavad Gita by Jnaneshwar Maharaj, chapter 16, verse number 7. And we saw that last week. Just recap. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha janana vidura suraha na shaucham napi chacharo na satyam teshu vidyate. And it said here in the 7th verse, the demonical or the asuras do not know when to act and when to refrain from action. They have no truthfulness, no purity, and nor any right conduct. See, when we say pravrittim and nivrittim you understand to withdraw. But what is pravritti? How do you involve in pravritti? Pravritti means involvement. So how do you get involved? We get involved. The Shastras categorize into 4 areas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. These are the 4 areas that we get involved in. But these asuras, when they do the Artha Purushartha, they don't do it for the purpose of Dharma. They do it for their satisfaction of desires. They do it for a sense of security. I need more security. Security for what? Oh, I don't know how long I will live. I don't know what will happen in the future. More. So people do it for sense of security. Then the people will just talk in general, that people do put efforts to generate wealth. That is Artha Purushartha. They generate wealth. Some people feel that as long as, these are the workaholics, that as long as I have my good health and hand and feet are working, I must produce and produce and produce and produce. That is one type of people. Then the third type of people is who that he will do anything. It doesn't matter what. And yet there are other people who will do anything for God. In the God's name they will convert. In the God's name they will steal. In the God's name they'll perform every action for God. No, this is God inspired or for the God. Yet there are other people who earth doesn't just mean money, it means wealth. Yet others, the yogis, they perform the yoga or the yoga abhyas or the tapasya for the sake of again, that is also for a sense of security, for a long life. See? And yet there are other people who do whatever they want, they have to do in life according to dharma for the sake of the God. That is the correct one. Wealth must be produced only for the sake of dharma, not for satiation of desires. When it is not done with the dharma in view, righteousness in view. Another word in English for dharma is righteousness. So when wealth is not generated out of righteousness, then these type of things happen. They are called asuras. Then there are people, these asuras, what do? They follow, you have to put effort for following the Kam Purushartha also. They utilize the wealth to satisfy the Kama Purushartha, not Dharma Purushartha, Kama Purushartha. So for them, the satisfaction of desires, there is no end to satisfaction of desires. Then they'll have to earn more wealth. See, there is a difference between needs and desires. So these people, they have lots and lots and lots of desires to be fulfilled, and therefore they don't know when to get involved in what desire and when to withdraw from something. They do not know that. Same thing, they don't know when to get involved in generating wealth and when to withdraw. Then third is the Dharma Purushartha. What is Dharma Purushartha for? Dharma Purushartha is to bring to our cognition that we are that infinite spirit which is beyond the existence of our empirical body and mind. See? But they don't want to know the Dharma. They say, the next verse will tell us that they say there is nothing called Dharma and Adharma. Who? These Asuras. Their goal is only one. Well, anyway, why should I preempt everything in the next verse? And not only this, they also do not practice hygiene, and they do not practice. See, when we are practicing hygiene and when we are doing everything for the Dharma, automatically a life becomes self-disciplined. Or else it becomes licentious. When we are going after our desires, it becomes licentious. And that is the case of these asuras. You can see them in the discotheques, in the pubs, on the beaches. Where there is no righteousness, no sense of decorum, no ethics, no morals. The only name of the game is my desires. I like this, so I will do it. Who are you to tell me? It's all about I. And also, not only Shaucha, when we are so alert about hygiene, automatically our life will be very alert. And also, these people do not tell the truth, do not speak the truth. They are far away from the truthfulness and proper conduct. And therefore, these asuras, they appear something outside and they are something else inside. I think it was the previous verse, or which one? Dambha. Dambha was hypocrisy, wasn't it? They appear something outside, but they are someone inside. Like we know one priest here, whom I know. Whole week they will eat meat, they will drink wine, alcohol, everything. But on the day they have to do puja, that day I don't drink alcohol or eat meat. This is asura vritti. This is the asura. वो हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, दिखाने के दांत और चबाने के दांत और. Continuing into the next verse. So this was and towards this, our Jnaneshwar Maharaj, he had given a very stark example, a few examples there, and that the coal may at times abandon its dark color, or the crow may become fair in complexion, or a demon may feel sick of meat, but these asuric persons will have no purity like a decanter filled with wine. World can change, but these asuric pravritti people, they will not change. They do puja, but they don't believe in Krishna Rama. But they do puja. for them. They do not like the dictates of scriptures and do not go the way of their elders. See? You ask these people to study a little bit of scriptures, they run far away from it. They don't want to. But they want to do pujas. But they don't want to study the scriptures. This is the hypocrisy that we are talking about. And this is the Asurik Vritti. As the sheep grazes wherever it likes, or the wind blows at its sweet will, or the fire burns everything unchecked, so these Asuric, demonical persons or uncultured persons behave without restraint and develop deadly enmity towards truth. And they call it academics, they call it philosophy, they call it modern thinking. It's all. And in this way, words come out of their mouth like columns of smoke from a mouth of a chimney. It's only words. Why only talk about others? From us also same thing is happening now. We are talking and talking and talking about the scriptures day in and day out. Only words. Are we having the intention to realize what is told there at this very moment? Are we available to the truth? Or are we just merely collecting information? Or are we just, oh, because it's Thursday, so Jnaneshwari, chalo, जाके बैठ जाते हैं and lecture शुरू. So this 7th verse. So basically in the 7th verse it was told that these Asuric people, demonical people, capitalist people, desire oriented people, materialist oriented people, they are Asuric. And here they lack discrimination. In the 7th verse they are told they lack discrimination. Now in the 8th verse, desire is their only purpose of life. Desire fulfillment is only their purpose, their only purpose of life. So here in the 8th verse it says, Asatyam apratishtham te, Asatyam apratishtham te, Jagadahuranishwaram, Jagadahuranishwaram, Aparasparasambhutam, Aparasparasambhutam, Kimanyat kama haitukam, Kimanyat kama haitukam. He says they assert that the universe is godless. Without truth and without moral foundation. It is born from the mutual union of man and woman. What else? It is caused by passion. There is no higher power and spirit and nothing. They don't believe in all that. So their purpose of life is only eat and enjoy. See? And in this way, here Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, Tari Vishwaha Anadi Thavo Yeth Niyanta Ishwara Ravo Chavadiye Nyavo Anyavo Nivadi Vedu Vedi Anyayi Pade To Niraya Bhoge Dande Sanyayi To Suravade Swargi Jiye ऐसी है विश्व व्यवस्था अनादि से पारथा ये ते महणती ते वृथा अवघेची है यज्ञ मूढ़ ठकिले त्यागी देवपि से प्रतिमा लिंगी नागविले भगवे योगी समाधि भ्रमे ये था आपुले नी बड़े भोगी जे वेटाळे हे वांचोनी वेगळे पुण्य आहे, ना अशक्तपणे अंगिके वेगळ वेटाळी न टके, ऐसा गादी जे वीण विषय सुखे तेची पाप. So he says here that these people believe, or they say that this world has existed from time without beginning, and that God is its where are we? People, normally the people say, right? Normally the people say that this world is anadi, it is nitya, that the creator, maintainer and destroyer is the Ishvara himself, and he is the controller and ruler. There the Vedas hold a court and decide what is just and what is unjust. So Ishvara has given us how he has given us dharma and adharma. He has given it to us through the scriptures. See, this is a very subtle thing. How do we know what is right and wrong in life? Either we know it from our parents, they came to know it from their parents, we come to know from the esteemed people or knowledgeable people, wise people in the society. And where did everyone come to know what is right and what is wrong? From the scriptures. And what are scriptures? They came from the Lord. They are the speech of the Lord. They are the Lord. And that is Sanatan Dharma. That is Sanatan Dharma, where we live a righteous life as given in the scriptures. When we say scriptures, we mean the Vedas. We don't mean Manusmriti, we don't mean Bhrigu Samhita, we don't mean Puranas. When we say scriptures, it only means Shruti. Shruti is the word of the divine. Because Puranas are Smriti, they are remembered scriptures. Shruti is revealed scriptures. Those who are adjudged immoral receive, the scriptures say, those who are adjudged immoral receive the punishment of life in hell, and those who are adjudged as moral dwell happily in heaven. The scriptures say that those who do good deeds, those who do the righteous acts in life, they go to heaven, and those who do unrighteous acts in life, they go to hell. This is what our scriptures say. And they say that this governance of the world which has come from eternity, these asuras, those who want to live a desire-oriented life, they say that this governance of the world based upon dharma and adharma is false. We don't accept it. Make hay while the sun is shining. By hook or by crook, make the money, satisfy your desires. And on top of that, these people say, asuras say, materialistic oriented people say, that those people who are crazy, who are committed to sacrifice not only for yajna, people are sacrificing for the family, people are sacrificing their needs, their happiness, for the sake of their children, for the sake of their parents. They say that such people are crazy because it is individual rights oriented thinking. It is not Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam thinking. And you see, in the world, that is what is spreading everywhere. The Western philosophy is all about individual right. The totality can be sacrificed for the sake of individual. Those who are mad after gods, deities, are misled by idol worship, and the yogis who wear ochre colored robes are duped by the illusion of samadhi. So for them, there is nothing like God, there is nothing like sacrifice. See, anytime person comes to me for blessing, there so many people keep getting married. When they come, my instruction to them is only one simple thing. Just now one girl, she's going to be engaged. She came and she said, Swamiji, what is love? I said, it's an arranged marriage. So before she jumps into it, maybe she has met this fellow and she was here. So she came and she wanted to know in what should be the angle of approach. Good, she didn't go and ask someone who is a Casanova. What is love? She came here and I had one answer only. There is nothing called love as you believe, as you see out there in the world. Tell me, how do you know your mother loves you? And she said all this. So, which means she sacrificed her life. She sacrificed her needs. She sacrificed her desire. She sacrificed her hunger. She sacrificed her hopes. And she's always available to you, isn't she? That is how you know she loves you. She doesn't need to hug you. She doesn't need to kiss you. She doesn't need to buy you presents. You still know that she loves you. She says yes. I said, do the same thing with your partner. See? But we feel following the crowds. Oh, is this your fiance? I don't see you holding hands. I don't see you embracing each other. I don't see you, whatever. Sacrifice. So, yajna, here when it said that those who are crazy about sacrifice are deceived by it, they say. But sacrifice is our foundation. Dharma is based on sacrifice. So whether that is sacrifice by parents for children, or husband towards wife, or wife towards husband, or children towards parents, or a human being towards the society, or for the God, or for the environment, it is sacrifice. Sacrifice means what? That you withdraw your thoughts from everything else and you are your attention is continuously towards that, and whatever difficulties may come along the way, you will bear it happily without complaints. That is sacrifice. But these people, they don't believe in sacrifice. See, in our culture, in a Sanatan Dharma, these people are like that. They don't believe anything. If we believe there is dharma and dharma, we live a life according to that, then we live a disciplined life. Then we have to believe such people who accept dharma and adharma at an individual level. If they have not come to the moksha purushartha, they believe that there is next life. So they will perform good deeds to go to heaven and avoid the hell. Automatically, a person who accepts that he is a soul, that there is a rebirth, such a person will automatically start performing a disciplined life. So that next birth is a good one with less challenges. See? But these people, they are not ready for that also. So here, where are we? They further argue as follows. They contend that whatever one can secure through one's ability, one should enjoy it. So what do they say? Whatever you can procure with your, by hook or crook, as I told you before, by whichever way you can. Goal is that I must have that. That is their goal. And one should enjoy it. Is there, they argue, is there any good other than this? Other than satisfying your desires and getting what you want? Is there any other good other than this? See, this is what majority of the society, if you look around, today, everyone is living for I like this, I don't like that. And they are deviating towards what they like. What they like, they desire. When they desire, they move towards it. Then they will put all their energies to satisfy that desire. And if that desire doesn't get satisfied, anger, mind disturbed. See? And if it gets the desire gets satisfied, then you want more, greed. And greed also leads to the same thing. Greed can never be satisfied. So again anger, again you lose the plot of life. See? So they further argue as follows. It is sin not to have the stamina to gather objects of sense enjoyments and not enjoy them on account of one's physical disability. They are living at their empirical level. If they see something they want, if they hear something, haven't you noticed? Hey, what is that music? That was a beautiful version. Where did you get it from? Where did you get that CD from? Do you have a copy of it? Can I get it next time I come? Please put it for me on my on my USB stick. If someone says, "Oh, I got this laptop." "Oh, you got this laptop? Man, I have been using my laptop for last 8-9 years. I think I should also upgrade my laptop." Where did you get it from? Who? Can you see if I can also get it for that good price? Whatever anyone else has, you also want. We are not satisfied with what we have. Be content. But asuras are never content. They want to possess more and more and more and more and more. They want to possess more and more and more and more. There is no end to it. That Bakasura, in Mahabharata, the story comes of a Bakasura. Bakasura is huge, living in a cave. The village every day has to supply him a bullock cart full of food and one human being to accompany it. He will eat the bullocks, he will eat the food, and he will eat the human being also. And still he is not satisfied. But the village people have made a pact with him. We are like Bakasura. Our 5 senses, when we live at the level of 5 senses, wanting more and more and more and more, we are Bakasuras. Never getting satiated. Satiation can come only when we live a life of dharma. And when we live a life of dharma, then obscene collection of possessions, obscene amount of collection of money, wealth, memories, relationships, all this will avoid because our attention will be on the God. If it comes unasked, no problem. A righteous person, a dharmic person, then uses that money. I don't know if long time ago must have mentioned. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, these are the four Purusharthas we said. They are like a river. If you are in a swimming pool, you jump into the swimming pool not to drown. You jump in the swimming pool to reach the other side. So, when you jump into the swimming pool, if you have seen the people who perform Olympics and all, they take a proper position on that stand, which is a bit on a height. They crouch so that they can leap into the water as far as possible. Their leap is directly proportional to their strength, their ability, their readiness, and the firmness of the platform from which they are going to jump. If that platform has spring, if that platform has sponge, their jump will not be as far as, it has to be solid. Similarly, our platform is dharma, righteousness. And with this foundation, when we jump into the river of life, which is artha and kam, but if you go only after arth, after wealth, and calm, satisfaction or desires, we will drown. Because that's the river, it will carry you away. Your goal has to be to reach the other side of the river. Otherwise, you have lost the plot of life. So when we jump into the life, after we have finished our education, we are into the workforce, we are into the family, our goal must be very clear that all this is happening, let it happen. But my goal is my peace of mind. My goal is that I must come to surrender to the Lord within this lifetime. And I don't know how long I am going to live, so I must be ever available to the divine. I must study the Bhagavad Gita, I must sit in meditation, I must do my japa on a daily basis. Just like we eat food on a daily basis, we have to do our sadhana also on a daily basis. But with regards to the body, we are very committed. We have to sleep every day, we have to get into the bed, give the rest to the body, we have to eat food regularly to give satisfaction to the body. But what about satisfaction to the mind? What about satisfaction to the intellect? That we never think. So, with the foundation of dharma, when we jump into the river, see these swimmers, when they jump into the swimming pool, more than half the distance they cover without even once making the arm action, because their jump is so far into the swimming pool that half the distance is already covered. So our foundation in dharma, in our love for the righteousness, our commitment to the righteousness should be so drid, so pakka, that when we jump into the life, without putting too much efforts, we have gone through half the distance. What is half the distance? The grahastha life should be over with the blink of an eye. See? Then vanaprastha and mumukshutvam is there, or sannyas is there. See? And when we are earning wealth, that earning wealth must be to satisfy our needs, not satisfy our desires. It must be there to satisfy our needs. And what will we do with the extra wealth that is there? Satisfy the needs of other people. Collect blessings. without losing the focus. Don't make that into the mainstay of your mind, that I have to, if I do good, I will get moksha. You will not get moksha if you do good, because you had the ego of doing good. Asuras think by doing good we will attain moksha. Well, in their mind, moksha करके कुछ है ही नहीं. Life is only about doing good, doing good, doing good. That also is not it. We must migrate from karma to upasana, upasana to jnana, jnana to abidance in the truth, abidance in the divine. If that direction, if we are not moving in that direction, we are going wrong somewhere in our thinking. So these pointers which are given in these till the end of this chapter is for us to reflect, see where we are caught up. Is any of these negative traits expressing through me? It's not for judging other people, it's to assess ourselves, reflect upon ourselves. So they further argue it is a sin not to have stamina to gather objects of sense enjoyments and to enjoy them on account of one's physical disability. So it is a sin not to acquire more and more and more. They have they get the adrenaline rush when $1 is made into $1,000. And they run after that. And how many people have you seen around you who have gone after the money, who have gone after the possessions, but they have lost their family? Wife goes to the kitty parties, children are on drugs or alcoholic. They have lost the plot because they have never been available to their children or to their wife. Everyone wants company. I have given everything. We have got a plane, we have got cars, we have got servants, we have got houses. But I don't know. When I come home, there is nobody at home. Where is the BBG kahan hai? She's in some party somewhere, in some disco somewhere, in some casino somewhere. Where are the kids? Sleeping with someone, on drugs, in some pub somewhere. So what did we do all this for? Because of our desire because our measurement of success was more money, more money, more money. No, it has to be a balanced approach. It has to be a righteous approach. Continuing, प्राण घेपती संपन्नाचे ते पाप जरी साचे तरी सर्वस्व हाता येतयाचे हे पुण्य फलकी बळी अबळा ते खाय हेची बाधित जरी होय तरी मासया कान होय निसंतान आणि कुळे शोधुनी दोन्ही कुमारेची शुभलग्नी मेळवी जती प्रजा साधनी हेतू जरी तरी पशुपक्षादी जाती जया भीती नाही संतती तया कोणे प्रतिपत्ती विवाह केले चोर्येचे धन आले तरी ते कोणासी विष झाले वालभेद परद्वार केले कोढी कोणी होय. He says that if it is a sin to kill a rich person, the acquisition of this property is the fruit of merit. For him, killing a person and grabbing his property is okay. The result is, I must have more wealth, life is okay. Like our Brazilian president, he is refusing to accept there is something called coronavirus. He is refusing to accept. So many people are dying. There the deaths have gone more than Europe. But no, there is nothing called corona. It's all a humbug. You are making it's nothing. It's just another small one. It will go away after some time. For that, I am not going to stop anything. and the whole government is against him. But he's the president, vetoes everything. What to do? If it is a sin to kill a rich person, the acquisition of this property is the fruit of merit. So, if I have to kill a person, that's not a sin for this Asuric person. It is not a sin, because the fruit of getting his property is more virtuous than committing the sin of killing. See. Then, if it is harmful for the strong to destroy the weak, how is it that the big fish who devour the small ones are not annihilated through lack of progeny? See? That is the word that the survival. They say, no, somewhere I have read survival of the fittest. So the one who is more strong, the world is his. The one who is more smart, the world is his. The one who is more is able to manipulate things, the world is his. See? So even those big fish, when they eat small fish, they still produce children. So this Asuric people think, with the Asuric pravritti, that it is okay, my life will continue, I will have children, I will be married, I will have children. If I am collecting money by whichever way I can, it does not matter, my life will go on. I am having a good life, I have got my wife, I have got my children. Couples get married at auspicious moments after a proper inquiry into the background of their families, with the object of begetting good progeny. But the lower orders, such as animals and birds, have numerous progeny. Who gets them married after fixing this auspicious time for their marriages? This is the argument of the Asuras. So they don't believe in from what background the parents are coming from, what is the character of the partner, how much education is there. Oh, animals don't go out and look for astrological charts, they don't make their kundali, but they produce more children than human beings. This is their argument. This is called Charvak philosophy. So there is nothing called dharma adharma. It is just like this, they believe. And just like in the animal kingdom, there is no marriage, there is no husband and wife. They also believe they may have a family, but they are not righteous, so they will do licentious behavior. They'll sleep with anyone, have children from anyone. That is the problem in Western countries, especially America, where if you go to schools, primary schools, the school has got no right to ask who the father is. Only mother's name is asked. Why? Mother also doesn't know who the father is. See? Mother is important. Father not important. As good as animal life. The whole world is going in that direction because we have kept that type of lifestyle and we look up to that type of lifestyle. We look up to that lifestyle in the name of freedom. And we are losing. Well, it can never be lost, but it seems that way. And the present generation and subsequent, they are losing the wealth that our culture has to offer, that Sanatana Dharma has to offer. Because we are just mimicking the Western culture. That is the Asuric culture. And yet within this culture, we are listening to satsang here. We are like Vibhishanas within the Asuric kingdom of Lanka. See, maybe this was Lanka, you know. This was connected to Sri Lanka once upon a time. Think, something to think about, that how much we are besotted with the Western lifestyle and how much we have brushed under the carpet the values that our parents had, the values that as a kid when we were in India we were following. Because we are following them. So many people I see nowadays, they don't even wash their hands after food. They don't rinse their mouth after food. They won't wash their hands before food. They will eat breakfast and then they will brush their teeth. This is not hygiene. Remember, previous verse talked about shauch, that these fellows do not follow shauch. This is what they don't follow. Because they have instilled in our mind that we are living a superstitious lifestyle. Now coronavirus has made them follow our lifestyle. Slowly toilet paper in the toilet also will go out of circulation, because it is cleaner to wash with water than paper and stink all the day. Think. What is good, you continue. So they say that in the animal kingdom there is no marriage, but they still have so many children, and who gets them married? Nobody gets them married, and nobody sees auspicious time. So why do I need to get married? Why do I need auspicious time? I'll go on the way I am. Licentious, uncontrolled, without any morals, without any right and wrong. They live only for satisfying their desires. Have the stolen riches ever proved poisonous to anyone? Has the Kohinoor which was stolen by the British Empire, has it become poisonous to the British Empire? She still wears it on her crown. Think. So, if we have stolen things from other people, it has never. But they believe that way. But what does our Sanatana Dharma believe? As you sow, so you reap. Somewhere down the line, you will have to pay for the deeds that you have performed. We are not talking about moksha. So if not in this lifetime, you will have to pay it in the next lifetime. Even if you accept yourself to be a jiva, a soul, you will live a disciplined life. But these asuras, they don't even accept that they are a soul. They believe they just come up. They are a product of two people coming together and they were born. That's it. There is no higher purpose. Have the stolen riches ever proved poisonous to anyone? Do persons who commit adultery out of love ever suffer from leprosy? His argument. Because their attention is on kshanik sukh, momentary pleasure. That is where their attention is. So this moment I get this pleasure, Then again, next moment, I'll go to something else for the next pleasure. Then again, I will go for something to the next pleasure. Isn't our life also dictated by pleasure if we are living this type of life? See, today you are in satsang, it gives you pleasure, it sounds nice, gives you good thoughts. If that is where your attention is, and these people say, Swamiji, oh, that was fantastic, that was wonderful, I really enjoyed it. If the retreat is there, they say, oh, the effect of the retreat was for 3-4 days, now we want satsang again. Then it is only pleasure. Then we did not imbibe the principles for the spirit, for knowing the spirit. It was only at the mental level. Mind was feeling the joy of listening, these exalted thoughts, and that's it. And the moment you come face to face with it, oh, it is very difficult to follow, Swamiji. It is not. So we are also living life from one pleasure to the next pleasure. We eat breakfast to, if you get anything for breakfast, you should be happy. But you want certain particular thing, you want pongal or you want dosa, you want idli. Next day also if you get, okay. Third day if you get, hey, can't you make upma or something? Pleasure. If you get the same sabji and same dal every day, after some days your volcano will blast. I am working so hard and I get the same dal and same sabji every day. You will give a ear bashing to your wife, or the other way around if you are a house husband. See? Think. This is the result of living at pleasure level. It is not living at righteous level. Righteous level will be whatever comes without complaint, eat. Continuing in the 306th verse, he says, Manauni devo gosavi to dharma dharmo bhogavi ani paratrachya gavi karito bhogi परिपरत्र ना देवो नदी से मणवनी तेवावो आणि करता निमे माठावो भोग्यासी कवणु ये तो उर्वशिया इंद्र सुखी जैसा का स्वर्गलोकी तैसाची कृमिही नरकी लोळ तू श्लाघे मणवनी नरक स्वर्गू नवे पाप पुण्य भागू जे दोही ठाई सुख भोगू कामा चाचितो या कारणे कामे स्त्री पुरुष युग्मे मिळती तेथ जन्मे आघवे जग. He says, the scriptures say that there is God who rules the world and dispenses the fruits of actions, both righteous and unrighteous, and one has to suffer the fruits of one's actions in the next world. But all this is false for the Asuri person. He doesn't accept all this. He says all this is false, as no one can see the next world nor God. His argument is, I have never seen God. Have you come across anyone who has seen God? Have you come to see the next life? Show me, show me, show me. Because he believes what he sees or experiences. And just because he has not had he has not seen or experienced the next life, he doesn't believe in it. They say in scriptures, you live in the moment. He says, I'm living in the moment. Satisfying my desires every moment. I'm living in the moment. See, this is the joke. They got an argument for everything. When the doer of the meritorious deeds or sin meets his death, who remains to experience the fruit of his actions? As we see, the worms find pleasure in refuse as much as the Lord of Heavens does in the company of nymph Urvashi. So neither heaven nor hell is a reward for merit or retribution of sin. In both cases, it is the satisfaction of sexual urge which brings happiness. So Indra Bhagwan is also after the Apsaras. He has got Rambha, Urvashi, etc., Menaka, etc., etc. Bhog. Bhog means desire oriented lifestyle. So they are also living for that. We don't know after death there is heaven or not. If you say there is heaven, Indra is also a bhogi. He is not wrong. Indra is a bhogi. So therefore, spirituality means going beyond Daivi and Asuric Sampati. Not just mere Daivik Sampati. But it is better to have Daivi Sampati than Asuric Sampati. Mind oriented outwards, mind oriented towards the world through the senses, leads to Asura Pravritti. Mind oriented inwards leads to Daivi Sampatti. Mind thinking, contemplating, reflecting on the one who is beyond the mind is spirituality. What is the nature when our good and bad is only for the jiva? But this asura is not even accepting himself as a jiva. Because if he accepts as a jiva, then maybe he will become exposed to the idea of rebirth, idea of living a disciplined life. But he doesn't accept, the asura doesn't accept that he is a jiva also. He lives only for copulation, he only lives for reproduction, and he believes. Here, what was the verse? Where are we? The verse was Aparaspara Sambhutam. Aparaspara Sambhutam is who came first? It's a life of cause and effect. And who is going to determine cause came first or effect came first? Father came first or the son came first? Chicken came first or the egg came first? Chicken or hen? Hen or egg? Which came first? So it is an endless argument. And therefore he says, I don't want to get into that argument. This life, whole life is just cyclical. So those who do not believe in Sanatan Dharma, those who don't believe in Vedas, they believe life is cyclical. They believe life is cyclical. In Vedanta, we are going beyond all this. We are going to a point where we are contemplating in such a manner to recognize that everything is divine. And the whole world as we know it at this moment is only a superimposition on this divine. Just like waves are only superimpositions on the water, projections on the water. Just like a movie is only a projection on the wall. Wall is the base, wall is stable, wall is not going anywhere. On that, we watch the movie for 3 hours. We laugh, we cry, we become angry, we go through the various emotions. And when we have expressed all our emotions, we feel, ah, what a wonderful movie, and we come out. But the unchanging principle there in the movie was the wall. So where were all the characters? Where was the space, air, sky, water, earth, trees, mountains, rivers, emotions, thoughts, speech, birth, death? It was existing in its own absence. Same way, the wave is existing in its own absence. The ornament is existing in its own absence. The unchanging principle is the gold or the water or the self, the Paramatma. But the Asura, forget about coming so far. He is not even ready to, Asuric Pravritti people, they are not even ready to accept that they are the soul. They want to live life only like the animals. See? Eat, drink, have sex and enjoy. That's all. In both cases, it is the satisfaction of the sexual urge which brings happiness. The world is born and sustained through the union of men and women under the urge of passion. This is the belief of the Asuras. Kama Haitukam. This world is functioning, the world is going round and round only because of Kama, only because of desire, only because of copulation. This is their belief. परिपरत्र ना देवो न दिसे म्हणवनी तेवावो आणि we did till 310, isn't it? Of 311th OV. आणि जे जे अभिलाषे स्वार्था लागी हे पोषे पाठी परस्पर द्वेषे कामची नाशी एवं कामा वाचुनी काही जगा मूळची आन नाही ऐसे बोलती पाही आसुर गाते आता असो हे किडाळ बोली न करू पघळ सांगताची सफोल होत सेवाचा. He says, this passion promotes whatever is beneficial to man, and when it is thwarted, it destroys the world through mutual hatred. The men of demonical, asuric temperament thus aver that there is no other cause of the world except sexual passion. Let us stop this discussion on an odious subject which only exhausts the tongue. Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying, enough of it. I don't want to speak anymore. I'm tired of talking about the Asura fellow in this manner. See? So they believe that it is only... And see what happens? As long as you keep doing things for me, I love you. The day you stop doing things for me, which was making me happy, now you become my enemy. I start avoiding you. Think. How many times this has happened in our life? We are good friends with someone and we drift apart. Why? Something they said, something they did. To break is very easy. To make up takes very long time. To create a relationship takes long time. to break it, attack. So these asuric temperament people, when their desires are not satisfied, then that person becomes their enemy, that situation becomes their enemy, that company becomes their enemy, and they start hating and avoiding it, start bad mouthing it. And these people, again, he says that they believe that there is no other cause of this world except sexual passion. That's why the world is going round and round and round and round. That's how the population is increasing. That's how the animal species are coming up. If the seed was not coming, how can a tree come? And if the tree seed is not there, how can a tree? Each one is feeding the other. It's only the copulation. And Jnaneshwar Maharaj, he says, enough of it, no more. So, in short, they believe that this world is not come about due to dharma, adharma. There is no dharma, adharma in this world. There is only procreation. The only purpose of this world is to procreate, not to follow dharma, dharma. This is their short-sightedness. And this has come about only because of their desire to fulfill their desires. Their desire to fulfill their desires by whichever way they can. And for this purpose, to satisfy their desires by whichever way they can, they are ready to destroy the world to satisfy their desires. Look at Akbar. How many times? 13, 14 times he sent more than 100,000 army to fight Maharana Pratap. And Maharana Pratap and his 30, 40,000 people, they killed everyone. Again next year he will collect 100,000. How many times? Just like Krishna killed so many times, 17 times he killed Jarasandha's army. Look at Alexander the Great. Came all the way only for his desire. He made millions of his soldiers die from hunger. Take Napoleon, same thing. See? So this is the point which is told in the next verse, that to satisfy their desires, they are ready to sacrifice the world. They are ready to destroy the world. Here it says, etam drishtim avashtabhya nashtatmano. Oh, I have to repeat. Etam drishtim avashtabhya nashtatmano alpa buddhayah nashtatmano alpa buddhayah prabhavantyugra karmanah prabhavantya ugra karmanah kshayaya jagato hitaah etam drishtim avashtabhya nashtatmano alpa buddhayah prabhavantya ugra karmanah kshayaya jagato hitaah. He says in the 9th verse, holding fast to his view, this view, what we explained in the previous verse, and this view, why did it come? Remember the sequence. It's a perfect order in which Bhagavan Krishna is explaining. 7th verse was about lack of discrimination. When there is lack of discrimination, you are not able to see what is right and wrong, what is dharma and adharma. That is what lack of discrimination is. What is truth and untruth? What is permanent and impermanent? What is real and unreal? then such a person's mind will automatically get attracted towards the changing, that is the world. And when he gets besotted, when he gets obsessed with the world because he doesn't know what is right and wrong, such a person is called an asura. Then he falls down to this type of thinking. This asura is below Shudra pravritti. Holding fast to this view, these lost souls of feeble wit and of fierce deeds come forth to destroy the world as its enemies. For them, everyone in the world is their enemy, because anyone who comes to become an obstacle in their satisfaction of their desires is an enemy. See? So, excuse me. Here the Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, आणि ईश्वराची आखंती नुसधियाची करीती चांथी हे ही नाही चित्ती निश्चयो एकू किं बहुना उघड आंगी लावूनिया पाखांड नास्ती कपणाचे हाड रोविले जीवी ते वेळी स्वर्गा लागी आदरू का नरकाचा अडदरू या वासनाचा अंकरू जळोनी गेला मग केवळ हे देह खोडा अमेध्योदकाचा बुडबुडा विषय पंकी सुहाडा बुडालेगा जय आटावे होती जळचर ते डोही मिळती ढीवर का पडावे होय शरीर तै रोगा उदयो उदय जणे केतुचे जैसे विश्वा अनिष्टो देशे जन्मती ते तैसे लोका आटू विरूढलिया अशुभ फुटती तैते कोंभ पापाचे कीर्तिस्तंभ चालते ते आणि मागा पुढा जाळणे वाचूनी आगी काही नेणे तैसे विरुद्धची एक करणे भलते या परितेची गा करणे आदरीती संभ्रमे जेणे तो ऐक पार्था म्हणे Srinivasu. He says that thus they scorn God and indulge in empty talk. Not only this, they have reached the firm conviction that there is no God. The more extrovert, desire oriented, likes dislike oriented our lifestyle is, a point will come in your life where you stop believing in God. Because the world of objects and desires, that has become havi, that has taken over your mind. There is no place for the divine to intervene. One desire after the other. So where is the gap from where the Lord can come and show His face, show His presence? They have reached the firm conviction that there is no God. In fact, they give the impression of being heretics, and atheism seems to be rooted in their bones. See, without the philosophy of nihilism, which is a product of Sanatana Dharma, this thought is there, but it became a different religion. They believe in a cyclical life. They believe there is no Atma or Paramatma. See? So, their next head of the religion will be searched for when a young kid is able to recognize the clothes, the books, the instruments which the previous pontiff used, and they believe that that person has come back. At least they believe there is a continuation of life. In the nihilist philosophy, at least they believe there is continuation of life. So we can't categorize them as asuras. But asuras are one step further. So just like nihilists, they don't believe there is Atma or Paramatma, but they believe there is Jiva, and there is continuity of Jiva, they call a cyclical life. Asuras don't even believe in Jiva, they believe this is all there is, that there is. I don't know why I was born, I don't know if there is anything after death, so my purpose is to make the best of what I have right now, in whichever way I can. In fact, they give the impression of being heretics, and atheism seems to be rooted in their bones. Atheism, not believing in God, is rooted in their bones. See? In the 316th OV, he says, the saplings, faint glimmerings of faith in heaven and dread for health in their minds get withered. Then they are caught in the stalk of a body, and like bubbles in dirty water, they sink in the mire of sensual pleasures. See, this is so true. You look at the Western Buddhism, they have taken the Buddhism from the East and they have doctored it, calibrated it to suit their lifestyle. So they didn't change their lifestyle of sensual living, leave that and become Buddhist. They changed Buddhism to to adjust to their sensual living. You see? This is how they change. And it is not just Buddhism. It happens with Hindus also, it happens with Christians also, it happens with Jains also, it happens with devotees also. Because they make the God or the spirit as the means to satisfy their desires. So here he says, these fellows, then they are caught in the stalk of a body, meaning body identification, and like bubbles in dirty waters, they sink in the mire of sensual pleasures. And sensual pleasure here just doesn't mean being with the opposite sex. Sensual pleasure means when you start catering for your tongue, when you start catering for your five senses, when you start catering for castles, you make castles in the air, sit and imagine how will it be if it is like that, how will it be if it is like that. Just like a young guy or a girl, when they are young, when they see someone, oh, that girl is not a problem, there are so many girls. But when he starts thinking after coming home, oh, that girl, I think I like her, I think she'll be a good wife and she will be a mother to my children. Or the other way, the girl thinks about a boy. This is building castles in the air. This is born out of attachment. It led to now your mind is only thinking about that. So desire, and then you will do everything to be in the company of that person. Then you will write letters. Even if you are rejected, you will go again and again and again. See, we become beggars to sensual pleasures. Just as when the death of a fish becomes imminent, the fishermen gather at the lake to catch them, so diseases of all kinds raise their head in their bodies at the approach of death. Disease only comes to a person who has allowed the world to enter their mind. Get this thing clear. If you have no desire, there will be no disease. Because if there is no desire, you are one with the truth. From truth point of view, there is nothing. And if you have not reached there, and if you are living a life of no desire, then there is no corruption in your mind. Likes, dislikes, a disintegrated lifestyle, which is a desire oriented lifestyle, is what creates disease in our life. Imbalance of sattva, rajas, tamas. Desire is rajasic, and the desire of these asuras, this desire of asuras is for the tamasic, is for the rajasic and the tamasic. What they are desiring? Another person, another object, another house, another wealth, someone else's wealth. So they are not desiring Atma. They are not desiring an pure mind. They are desiring the world. And their world is so much variety is there. And when we allow the world to enter into our mind by way of desire, by way of accepting it, by way of attachment, by way of giving attention again and again and again, then there is fear. I don't want to die so early. Or there is a wish that I want to die. One moment I am there, next moment I should not be there. I want a death like that. I can't. I don't want to go by cancer. I don't want to die slowly. I want to live healthy, and when the death comes, I should just pop off. Their attention is still on the body, their attention is still on the world, because they are seeing around people are dying with so much pain and with so much misery. They don't want to go through the same. And just as the comet rises in the sky, portending a calamity to the world, in the same way these demonical men are born for the destruction of the world. Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying that those people who live material oriented life, object oriented life, Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha oriented life, they are ready to destroy the world. Aren't we ready to destroy the flower by plucking it from a plant where it was healthily living and bring it to the photograph of the god? And you call yourself Sattvic. You just committed a crime. A living flower, you killed it in the name of offering to God. Think. This is, oh, flower. But Swamiji, this is better than killing animals as sacrifice. People argue. Killing of a flower and killing of an animal or a killing of human being, it is killing only. The act of taking life away is called death, and that's what you bestowed upon that flower. You killed it. See, if we become self oriented, we will become very touchy about these things. When we are material oriented, it's only a flower, it doesn't matter, Swamiji, it can't think. It's only an animal, Swamiji, it can't think. It's only grass, we took the durva, it cannot think. But when we become sensitive, that and our mind becomes purified in self contemplation or God contemplation, and mind expands to include the whole universe within its womb, within its space, within the mind, then that plucking of durva or that plucking of flower or that scolding to someone, because everything in the world is me alone, is the self alone. Such a sensitive person who is alert to all this, he will refrain from all this. And therefore it is told, yes, okay, we are doing karma kand, do it, but our journey is not to remain stuck there. Our journey is to come to the moksha purushartha. Our journey is from karma kand to upasana, from upasana to jnana, and from jnana to absorption. Our journey is from relationships, possessions to body. From body we migrate to the breath, pranayam. It's not about whole life living only doing asanas. What are you achieving out of that? Body is going to die. This I guarantee right now. As much yoga you may do, you are going to die. And it's not a curse. It is a matter of fact. It is going to die. As much pranayama you may do, you are going to die. This body is going to die one day. So, what is the purpose? When we start living dharma-oriented life, then we will migrate from the relationships to the body, from the body to the breath, breath to the mind, mind to the intellect, from intellect to the jiva, from the jiva to the witnessing consciousness, from the witnessing consciousness to the infinite consciousness. If this journey is not happening in our life, we are missing the point somewhere. Something is amiss. I'll just conclude in 1 minute. We can talk about it next time. As inauspicious shoots spring from inauspicious seeds, they are verily the moving pillars of trump raised by sin. Just as fire does not look around while burning things, so they destroy everyone who comes within their orbit. Now I shall describe to you with what zeal they commit such misdeeds. So said Lord Krishna to Arjuna. I'll talk more about it next week. So, we are not here, we are here only to listen to these traits of asuric person, to see that they are not raising their hood within our mind, so that we can refine our personality. And the best way to refine our personality is become divine oriented. Divine means that being oriented towards that which is beyond the mind, and that which is beyond the mind is my true nature. With this thought on the positive note, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. We'll sit for a minute, 30 seconds. Next class will be on Saturday at 6 p.m., 5 past 6.